Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another episode of On the Air with Tim and Ken. Ken, good to see you again.
Yeah, great to be back. Good to see you too.
All right, we got a few things to walk through tonight, and I want to thank all the viewers, subscribers. We appreciate your time, and we appreciate the feedback we're getting. I know Ken wanted to speak to you also.
Yeah, we really do appreciate everybody giving us a few minutes. We really enjoy doing this, and thanks for listening.
All right,
And your
I
feedback.
got to go through the legal disclaimer, otherwise I get yelled at. All right, everyone, this is just for fun only. Don't take it too seriously. Don't make a wager or bet based on anything we say or don't say. Just have fun.
Yep.
All right. So tonight we're going to go through a few things, and we're going to get into the. There's a lot going on in the NCAA football with the head coaches. A lot of movement around there, a lot of money. That's going to be what we're talking about a lot tonight. That story is going to be out there for quite a while, so we want to get in front of that. We're also going to talk about LeBron James a little bit, and before the coaches, and then if we have time, we're going to get into what the owner of the Brooklyn Nets recently said on a podcast. We thought it was a little bit odd, but he's quoted as saying something, so we're gonna get into that a little bit too. But first, a couple of housekeeping things up here in Boston this weekend. Beautiful weekend. We're taping this on a Sunday night. Boston just hosted the 3-day Head of the Charles. With that, Charles River is the river that goes through Boston, and the Head of the Charles is a 3-day regatta. They had their 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Beautiful weather. It's the largest 3-day regatta in the world. They had 11,000 participants. I don't know who won. I wasn't there. I couldn't make it, but it's always a great event. It was their 60th anniversary. So congratulations to all those folks and to the city for that event. It's a great event.
Yeah, I mean, you're always happy on those kind of events where the weather is nice and there's never any weather issues. So
yeah,
a lot of people put a lot of time into that, and congratulations to everybody that participated.
Yeah, I've gone on occasion. It's really quite something to see, quite a spectacle, and all the athletes from young to old participate. I think 75, 85-year-old, they put their teams out there from around the world. It's just a great event. It's kind of like what Ken and I like to talk about once in a while, what we call page two. You hear about LeBron and all the big superstars. We do that too, but we like to do the page two stories to keep everything, keep the gut check there. So speaking of page two, Ken, I heard from a couple of our viewers, one of them, Tom from Walpole. Tom's an avid golfer, and he recently had his annual golf grudge match with some sports radio guys, and it's basically their Ryder Cup. So Tom and his golf partner, Bob, they played the match at Walpole Country Club, great golf course, and the match came down to the 18th hole at Walpole. Walpole, the finishing hole was fantastic. It's a par 4. It's over water, dogleg left, kind of your hole, Ken, risk reward.
I love that. Yeah, I love those holes.
How much can you cut off? It's thick rough, and it's got some length to it. It's well over 400 yards, and the green is a double green, very fast, and it's surrounded by very deep bunkers. Well, Tom was in the bunker, and he made a great up and down for a par to win. They have bragging rights for another year, so they beat the sports radio guys. And I think the purse might have totaled about $8, if that. But they've got bragging rights for another whole year. So congratulations to Tom on a great par, and his golf partner Bob on a great win. So that's good stuff.
Yeah, congrats! Right, what a way to almost finish the golf season, as the golf season in the Northeast is coming to an end.
That's right.
With a par out of the bunker.
Couldn't get any better. And then we heard from Mary. Mary's an amateur equestrian. She had she sustained an injury a couple years ago. She's come back from that. She's been comfortable to ride over the last 6 to 12 months. She's got, quote unquote, back in the saddle. And she recently competed in an equestrian show event. And she did well in some events, not so well in other events. But the fact of the matter is she got back in, she worked hard, she competed. And so again, hats off to Mary for reaching out to us and for her effort.
Yeah, congrats, Mary. It's great that you're back riding again, and I know how much you enjoy it, and so it's great that you're able to do it again and have some fun doing it. And,
yeah,
it's what sports is all about, right? We all watch it on a TV and stuff, but to play at your level is just as fun, and so it's great to hear about people doing things like this.
Yeah, so if any one of our viewers has a story like that, we love, like Ken said, we love that. That's the passion of sports, whether you're just watching sports or watching amateur sports or participating. Those are the stories that you'll always remember. And that's what's really important. But we'd like to talk about sports and business, so we're going to go on to LeBron James. What's going on with LeBron?
Well, so LeBron's is 40 years old. He's in his last season or last year of his contract with the Lakers. He's expected to miss 3 or 4 weeks with a sciatic injury. They're looking at a mid-November kind of figured he'll miss 10 games. And we've talked about LeBron and Luka since we started the podcast, and
Yep.
LeBron's going to be the story for this NBA season based on does he finish the season in LA? Do the Lakers make the playoffs? Is he insist on a trade to a playoff team? So
Yep.
LeBron is still a very big part of what the Lakers do. And for him to miss 10 games and every game counts toward the end, you may say, well, he'll be fine. He's got 70 games left. But, those games, you're chasing for seeding or getting into the playoffs in April or May. These 10 games are important. So it's going to be, if the Lakers go out and start 8-2, that's going to be one thing. But if they start off 2-8, the rumbling's going to be, about LeBron. And so, we hope he gets healthy. He's great for the league. He's great for sports. But it's an interesting story to follow for the next 6 months.
Yeah, he's had that injury before. It's very painful, apparently, and the season starts next week. Like you said, everyone's gonna be watching. Hopefully, he can get back quickly. And there's so much, he's a superstar. He's a legend. So much, is reliant upon his just being there. The fans they pay big money to be there. TV, everyone loves to see him. So. I hope he gets back. I hope he's healthy. I mean, the bottom line, I hope he's healthy. He's a competitor, so we'll see.
Well, he apparently has a newfound love for golf. So somebody suspected maybe he was playing a little too much golf because that injury is consistent with golf. I don't know, but everybody always tries to make an excuse. But look at it. We hope he gets back soon. He's great for the sport.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, hope you get back, LeBron. All right. What we really want to get into tonight, folks, is the NCAA head football coaching world. You don't hear too much. You hear about it, but you got to dig a little bit on it. And the reason we want to get into it, there's so much money involved in NCAA football in particular, and what these coaches make, and what they get paid to not coach. We're going to get into that tonight. I want to just preface all that with the highest paid NCAA coach. So just bear with me for a second, just to give you some numbers of what we're talking about here. Coach Kirby Smart, he's with Georgia. He's a Georgia alumni. He signed a contract with Georgia in 2016. He's the head coach through 2023. He recently signed a 10-year deal through 2033. I'm sorry. That contract has a buyout of $105 million remaining. He makes about $13 million per season. They did win the national championship, I think, 2 years in a row now. So he's got a great program there. So if they can justify, I guess they can justify that number, that $13 million a year. But at $105 million buyout, these teams can change on a dime. These are student athletes. They're not signed to contracts. They're only there 3, 4, 5 years or whatever. So it's tough to control all that. And the competition is fierce. The reason I bring that is preface that with that number is we have another coach. I think was he at Penn State, Ken?
Penn State, yeah.
And what happened?
So Penn State, who is one of the premier programs in college football, they fired their coach James Franklin after 12 years. They owe him $49 million. He was preseason ranked, I think, number 2 in the country. They had 3 major losses in a row. They lost at home in double overtime to Oregon, which was really 2 of the top teams in the country playing. And then they followed up by losing at UCLA, who was winless and had already fired their coach. And then at homecoming to a Northwestern team that they were 3 touchdown favorites. And the knock on him is he can't win the big game. He's 4-21 lifetime against top 10 teams. And, of those 4-21, 1-18 are in his conference. And, as Tim mentioned, there's just so much money in college sports. Somebody had to get frustrated and said, we're going to write the check, alumni.
Yeah.
that this can't go on. And it's, I looked at the size of stadiums, of football stadiums. There's 14 stadiums bigger than the biggest NFL stadium. 8 stadiums in college hold over 100,000 fans, and Penn State's number 2 as far as capacity goes. And it tells you where the money is. The money's in college football. The passion is in college football. So he was apparently pretty surprised that he got fired. But Penn State went all in this year. They gave him lots of money. They gave him lots of money for recruiting and coaches. And it's just all falling apart. And
it's amazing. Last year they were 11-1. They lost in the Orange Bowl to Notre Dame in a great game, 27-24. I think right before we went on, you said he has he's got a great win-loss record, but getting to that national championship win, he hasn't got there yet. He can't get there.
He hasn't gotten there,
and he's been very close. He's not. It's not like he's going 5-5 every year. He's winning, and he wins playoff games. It's just that last year he lost to Notre Dame in a great game. I mean, 11-1 season, and the guy's out and took his.
There's such passion there, right? And I mean, somebody had to get annoyed enough, or multiple people, alumni, that we're going to write the check, and we can't watch this anymore. And and one of the coaches that was considered to replace, that was rumored to replace him, is the Indiana coach, and his name is Curt Cignetti.
Yep.
And he used to be the coach at James Madison back in 2023, earning a measly $677,000 a year. Well, he goes to Indiana. He's now 18-2 since he's been there, and they just gave him a new contract for $11.6 million a year.
They didn't want to lose him. They were afraid he would jump.
They were afraid he was going to jump.
Yep.
So the University of Florida today fired their coach. They owe him $21 million. The Florida State has a tough decision. Their coach has been really not doing well over the last couple of years, but they owe him $59 million. So they're not there yet. But as one guy reported, the season's not over yet. So I think they're 3-5 this year, or 3-4, and going nowhere fast. So there's so much money in college sports, and you've talked about, like, these public universities committing this kind of money to sports is
we know the money's really we know really the money's coming from the alumni to do these things. If I go back to Georgia, their revenue at Georgia for the football team was about $136 million last year. Huge. About half of that, $62 million, came from contributions for better seats. That's your alumni donation. That's how I read that. Ticket sales, $36 million, the media, $20 million, and sponsorship and fees, $17 million. They netted about $65 to $67 million profit. So huge money involved. Now, what Ken was kind of teeing up for me there was these are mostly public universities. These are public employees. So basically, look, I'm all in favor of people making money, and that's great. I have no problem with that. I love the sports. I want better teams. I want all that too. My concern, maybe it shouldn't be a concern, is the alumni. One alumni or a group of alumni, they each pony up $10 million, so someone writes a check for $50 million. They want a specific person. It's to one person. They're not just saying pick a coach and I'll write you a check for $50 million. They're telling you who to hire, and the school will do it. They've done, they're not going to really admit to that, but that's what's going on here. At least that's what I think, and that's what's going on. And what's going on?
I agree. The alumni are running this.
Yeah.
The money is so big that the alumni are running this now, and if they didn't want the coach fired, he would still be there. Whether it was one alumni or a group of alumni in Penn State, this wasn't the AD making the decision in the middle of the season to fire the coach.
Now, the University of Georgia is massive. The football program is massive, but it's only one part of the university. There's something called students and professors there too. Where do they fit into you still have to maintain the school, the study factor of it, the facilities, all of the above, and the cost for that go on and on. I just don't want these programs to take away from the function of the university. And I believe me, sports is part of the university. Absolutely, it should be. It's a big part of the university, and it should always be. I think it's a great thing for a lot of people. I'm not saying that, but what I'm getting at, they're blurring the line. You get alumni coming into a public university. They're making more than the governor, making more than the by leaps and bounds, and they're controlling a public entity. And where do you draw the line, or should you draw the line? Is my question. If people are okay with it, fine. I'm not going to make a stand on it, but just call it what it is, and that's fine too. Say this is how we're going to run. We're going to run this piece like a business. If we get the donations in, we're going for it because there's a lot of money involved, and we can bring back to the school. That's generally the argument. We bring all this revenue in, so it's good.
And we've also, made the leap to look, you're paying players to come there, right? At the college football level, the men's college basketball, they're getting paid a lot of money to come there. Let's not pretend they're students anymore. Okay. Let's just call it what it is. They're professional athletes, and that's fine.
Yeah.
You don't need to give them these tax-free college scholarships that most of them aren't even using anyway at these big universities. Give them the money. Okay. But let's not pretend that they're these student athletes anymore at these, these big SEC schools and these Big Ten schools, because they're not. They're really pro players that aren't playing in the professional sport leagues. And again, it's like Tim has said, it's fine, but don't just call it what it is. These are professional athletes, in college football and in college basketball. Let's not take up a space and science class.
Yeah.
I mean, they're probably not even going to the class.
Don't waste
a space and science class.
Yeah.
Because they don't want kid that wants to go to Georgia Science,
Yeah. Call it what it is. And this does impact the other sports and what they do. Some schools have to give because they got to share the money equally, but they have to make choices on how they spend the money. And I do think, I'm not an expert on it, but I do think some sports get dropped because of this. It's just not fair the way they have to use the money. But in any event, the bigger piece, like Ken said, call it what it is. It's great. You get talented athletes, and they want to be athletes. Beautiful. Go for it. You get the NIL money now for name, image, and likeness. Grab it all. Grab more than your fair share. That's I have no problem with that. Grab it all. Call it what it is. Go learn football. Major in football if you have to be a student, I guess. But don't even call it that. Just be upfront about it. But it does get a little blurred when you have a public entity being steered by donations. If I donated something to why I'm not an elected official. I'm not in the school. Why am I steering that? I write a check, but maybe naming rights are fine, but because there's no real impact on that. You want to write a check for $10 million? We'll name the stadium after you for this year or something. What? That's fine, but they have a direct input on who you hire and who you fire. They're not part of the administration. Maybe they're better at it. They probably are better at it because they're more passionate about it. They're putting their money up. And
if you miss so bad that you got to write a $40 million check, then maybe you didn't do such a good job. But
right. Who was the alumni that wrote those checks, right? And when are they going to say?
How do they take that as a tax deduction?
We'll have to go to a tailgate party there and sit in the fancy alumni section and see who's doing what down there and see if they'll give us a scoop on it. But this is college football, huge business. Coaches are making incredible money. God bless them. The student athletes are phenomenal. They put on a great program. Most of those kids are never going to ever see the NFL, unfortunately. But now I'm happy they can get the NIL money. Thank God. I think I've been an advocate of that.
That becomes the sad part about it, right? Like most aren't going to see the NFL.
No.
They have a chance to get a college education, and yet they're convinced that they're going to be playing football. So, they're really losing out. Like when it used to be, 10, 15 years ago, you trade, a college education and a future in what you're passionate about for this, belief that you're going to play professional football. And so
I think there's going to be a lot more coming out about this because you have the NIL money now. The money is getting bigger and bigger for these coaches. You see the turnover fast, big money. I know the NCAA's they segregate the money and all that. They're playing a little bit cute. They're not calling a spade a spade. It's like the fantasy football stuff. call it whatever you want now because gambling's legal in most states, so you can call it whatever you want. Just call it whatever you want. Treat it the appropriate way so that these young people, these athletes, whatever sport, they're treated fairly and they understand exactly what they're doing, and somehow figure out the way you're going to have private people influence the public university. I'm okay with it. Just structure it. Just figure it out. So I don't, we know what's going on. That's all.
Let's wrap this segment up with our coach, Coach
Yep.
Belichick.
Yep.
He's lost a tough game Friday night. It sounds like, a week ago he was on the cusp of maybe being out, but it looks like he's going to survive this season. He says he's all in, so we'll just wait and see. The team showed up Friday night. They lost a tough game on a fumble at the goal line. They still owe him $20 million. They're not ready. He wants to stick it out. Let's see how that turns out.
Yeah, very, very tough loss. That team, they went out there, all the well, at least in the media, nothing from the players publicly, but the coach it was a bye week or so, and speculation they don't want him there. He's not coming back, and a lot of rumors flying. And they get the team back together. They fly out to the West Coast. They are a big underdog. They show up. They play hard. Like Ken said, I think it was about 3 minutes to go in the game. Winning score, and the guy whacked it out of his arm, the receiver, as he was going into the end zone, and right at the goal line. That was the game. Tough loss. I'm sure it was a terrible flight home, long flight home. Belichick's been in these situations before. I hope he doesn't seem to be a quitter. I hope they see what he did with these students and these athletes. And I hope the players rally around him and keep their head down and grind it out. I don't know the benefit of letting them go now, but so.
All right. Now the Brooklyn Nets.
Joseph,
this is a story. This is a story that I can't believe has not gotten more publicity. Joseph Tsai, the owner of the Nets, came out on a podcast and all but implied that they are playing for next year's draft pick.
Let me read you the quote. This is the alleged quote. Okay. Apparently, Joseph Tsai said in the podcast pretty recently, he said, "We have one pick in 2026 and we hope to get a good pick. So you can predict what kind of strategy we will use for this season, but we have a very young team." So pretty clear to me what he's implying.
They just had 5 first-round picks in the draft back in June. To me, implies that they're tanking the season. I think it's outrageous. I think the commissioner needs to step in. The NBA has 4 betting partners. How are you supposed to put a betting line on a team where the owner comes out publicly and says, you can predict what kind of strategy we're going to use for the season. We're trying to play for a draft pick for next year. The Nets are the 6th highest value team at $6.2 billion. They're going to get $250 million in TV revenue, and all the season tickets, business partners, and the season hasn't even started yet. And you're coming out and implying that the strategy is we're playing for next year. We're not even going to try to compete this year.
Yeah, what's the coach supposed to do? What are the fans supposed to do? They're supposed to show up and cheer and pay a lot of money to watch. And again, that I didn't see him say that. That was what was reported that he said. So I
read the same quote. Yeah, I've read the same quote. I think the commissioner has been silent. I checked that has been silent on this.
Yeah.
I think he should come out and either fine them their first-round draft pick for next year, or say you're going to get the last pick in the first round. Like, there needs to be a stance here when you have so much money that you're getting for playing these games and supposed to be competitive, and you're implying that you're not going to be competitive and that you don't really care about it.
Now, if he left the comment at, "We hope to get a good pick," there's a lot of good draft picks, supposedly. He could just left it at that. But then he went on to say, "So you can predict what kind of strategy we'll use." If he didn't say that.
Yeah, this is a public statement. It's not like
Yeah.
somebody heard him in a rumor or somebody read an email he wrote. Like this was a public statement he made.
Everybody hopes to
So,
get a good pick. Not everybody's hoping to get into the lottery because they want to have a good season. There's a big
right.
difference. Right. And he's in the Alibaba world, and he owns the one of the WNBA Liberty team, and I don't know his background as an owner, but I know he's a businessman, and he's probably looking at this as I don't know. I'm assuming he's looking at this more as a business than a sports franchise. They're different. They're businesses, but you got to run the sports franchise different than you run your widget shop, because the fans pay good money and they're there to win that year at that time. And at least put the effort in. You got to put the effort in. You got to try. You can't tank things. You got to put full effort in. You got to try to win.
I mean, the commissioner's got to send a clear message here. Like he's got to come out and hit him hard. This,
Yeah.
This isn't like 20 games left in the season. The trade deadline's coming up, and you dump all your players because you can get draft picks then. This is before the season even starts.
Yeah.
And I can't believe that there's not more public outcry on this. I mean, if you're a season ticket holder, I want a refund. Like,
Yeah.
give me 75 cents back on the dollar if you want me to come to a game.
Right.
Finding these guys money isn't going to do anything.
No.
Take away his draft picks that he coveted so much.
That's the only message you could send to them and to the league. We're not going to tolerate this. It's all about credibility. If they lose credibility in the league, you've lost it all. I mean, if games are tanked,
Right, you have 4 betting partners. How are they supposed to put lines on these games?
Yeah. So I'm surprised there's been more. I haven't heard anything else. I just read what I read to you folks. So that's allegedly what he said. So
I mean, I read an article. They asked the coach about it, and he goes, "Well, we're so good drafting that." He was just kind of implying, he's trying to cover it up. Of course, he is. Like,
yeah.
We can get a good pick at any place we draft, but I feel like this is the Charlie Sheen Major Leagues movie, right, where they're trying to tank to move the team to Miami.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see. The season starts next week. We got LeBron not playing. We got this. The WNBA, their season is over. Hopefully, there'll be a cooling down period and a coming out on the right path. Figure that out. So,
yeah, congratulations to Las Vegas. They won the WNBA title 4-0 over Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
They do have a long off season. They have a lot of challenges, and we'll talk more about that in the upcoming weeks. But we hope that they can get together and solve their issues and work together, as there seemed to be a lot of animosity at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But Tim, it's great doing another episode.
Ken, good to see you. We're gonna continue to focus on sports and business, but we like the page 2 story. So if there's a viewer out there that has what we call a page 2 story, it could be local to you, could be something that we might not catch on ESPNs or something like that. Share it with us. We really love that stuff. Ken, thanks again.
Thanks. Share with us at the our X link at Tim and Ken podcast. Tim, great seeing you again.
Hit the like button. The dislike button we're going to get rid of anyway, so just hit the like button twice. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Thanks. Good night, everybody.